What if I told you that the reason you feel gassed, foggy, and wired but tired has almost nothing to do with how much oxygen you're breathing in, and everything to do with a gas most people are desperately trying to get rid of? We've been told our whole lives that oxygen is the hero and carbon dioxide is the villain, but that story is wrong. Dangerously, performance-robbingly wrong. And once you understand the actual mechanism hiding inside your own bloodstream, you will never think about breathing the same way again. Stay with me because this one is going to flip your whole framework upside down. Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is where we go deep into the science of human optimization, the stuff your doctor doesn't have time to tell you, and that most influencers get completely backwards. Today we are zeroing in on one of the most underrated levers in the entire biohacking toolkit, CO2 tolerance, and what it actually does to oxygen delivery inside your body. This isn't just breathwork theory. There's hard physiology behind this, over a century of it, and it is finally making its way into elite sports labs, longevity clinics, and now your living room. Let's start with the foundational misunderstanding because it's the key to everything else. Most people assume that breathing more, deeper, faster, more volume means more oxygen reaching your cells. It sounds logical, more air in, more oxygen delivered, but that's not how your physiology actually works. Here's the thing. Overbreathing can actually reduce effective oxygen delivery to your tissues. Your lungs extract oxygen efficiently at completely normal breathing rates. Breathing more doesn't significantly increase blood oxygen saturation, which is already sitting near 98%, but it does lower CO2, and that reduction in CO2 reduces the oxygen released from hemoglobin. That last part is the kicker. You can have a bloodstream packed with oxygen molecules, but if CO2 levels drop too low, that oxygen literally cannot get off the hemoglobin and into your working muscles, your brain, your mitochondria. This was actually described all the way back in 1904. CO2 is not a waste product, it is a signal that instructs hemoglobin to release oxygen. Without enough CO2, oxygen stays bound in the blood instead of flowing into the cells. That principle is called the Bohr Effect, and it changes everything about how you should think about breath training. So what exactly is CO2 tolerance, and why does it matter so much right now? CO2 tolerance, also known as CO2 chemosensitivity, is your body's ability to manage and adapt to rising levels of carbon dioxide, and is a key factor in breathing efficiency, stress resilience, and overall health. Here's the real-world consequence of having low CO2 tolerance. Although CO2 is often treated as a waste product, the body actually needs it to release oxygen from hemoglobin and deliver that oxygen to working tissues. When someone is highly sensitive to rising CO2 levels, they feel a strong urge to breathe sooner and respond by breathing more rapidly than necessary. That unnecessary rapid breathing is what we call overbreathing or hyperventilation, and millions of people do it chronically, every single day, without ever realizing it. The result is a body that's technically breathing plenty of air, but running on a fraction of its actual oxygen potential at the cellular level. Someone with high CO2 tolerance, on the other hand, breathes more efficiently, stays calm under pressure, and improves oxygenation at the cellular level. Now here's where it gets genuinely exciting for anyone interested in performance or longevity. Contrary to popular belief, it's not low oxygen that primarily triggers the urge to breathe, it's rising carbon dioxide concentrations in the bloodstream. By systematically exposing the body to higher than normal CO2 levels through controlled breath holds or restricted breathing exercises, you can effectively reset your respiratory sensitivity. The body adapts by becoming more efficient at carbon dioxide buffering, the process of managing blood pH when CO2 builds up. And this adaptation has cascading effects throughout the physiological systems that contribute to performance, from oxygen utilization to lactic acid management. Research from the University of Colorado's Altitude Research Center has demonstrated that regular exposure to elevated CO2 levels can increase the body's buffering capacity by up to 18% after just 4 weeks. Think about what that means practically. Athletes who engage in regular CO2 tolerance training report being able to maintain performance with fewer breaths, essentially getting more work output per oxygen molecule. That is the definition of efficiency. That is the biohack. So how do you actually measure where you stand right now? This is where a tool called the Bolt score becomes incredibly useful. The Bolt score, the body oxygen level test, is a simple and effective way to measure your carbon dioxide tolerance, which is a direct indicator of how well you breathe, functionally or dysfunctionally. Here's how you take it. Breathe normally, exhale gently, then pinch your nose and count the seconds until you feel the first distinct urge to breathe. Not until you're desperate, just the first real nudge. That number is your Bolt score. Under 10 seconds signals significant breathing inefficiency, often linked to stress, anxiety, or poor sleep. 10 to 20 seconds is below average and common in modern lifestyles. 20 to 30 seconds is the range where research considers breathing functional, and 40 seconds represents optimal CO2 tolerance and breathing efficiency. Most people score somewhere between 15 and 25 the first time they test. Elite endurance athletes often score above 40. Your Bolt score is essentially a window into your entire respiratory nervous system. It tells you how efficiently you are delivering oxygen at the cellular level. Right now, today. The good news is that this is a trainable physiological quality, and it doesn't require expensive equipment or an altitude tent. Techniques such as nasal breathing, cadence breathing, voluntary slow breathing, and controlled breath holds can be incorporated into daily life, warm-ups, workouts, and post-training routines. The most powerful and accessible starting point is switching to nasal breathing, not just during meditation, but during exercise, during your workday, even during sleep. When athletes commit to nasal-only breathing during easy and moderate training, 3 things consistently happen. Respiratory rate drops, perceived effort decreases, and recovery between sessions improves. The mechanism behind this is straightforward. By breathing slower and lighter through the nose, the body gradually builds CO2 tolerance, the foundation of efficient breathing. Higher CO2 means better oxygen release into the muscles via the Bohr Effect, and more recruitment of the diaphragm. The downstream effects reach further than performance alone. Better recovery between sessions, deeper sleep, steadier energy, and a calmer emotional baseline. Beyond nasal breathing, adding structured breath hold exercises is the accelerant. Breath holding after exhalation is one of the most potent tools in functional breath work and one of the least understood. The research is clear. Done correctly, it raises your EPO, boosts CO2 tolerance, strengthens your diaphragm, and improves repeated sprint ability. You're essentially creating a mild, controlled, safe hypoxic stimulus. Your body responds by adapting. The timeline is faster than you think. The first effects, calmer breathing and reduced stress, are often noticeable within 1 week. Measurable improvements in your Bolt score of 5 to 10 seconds typically show up after 3 to 4 weeks of consistent practice, with deeper changes in sleep quality and endurance emerging after 6 to 8 weeks. This is also critically important for anyone on a longevity path, not just athletes. Declining lung capacity and inefficient breathing patterns have been linked to increased risk of chronic disease, reduced physical performance, and accelerated aging. This growing body of research is shifting attention toward the role breathing plays not only in stress regulation, but also in long-term physiological resilience. Breath practices that improve respiratory efficiency, oxygen utilization, and carbon dioxide tolerance are increasingly being explored as complementary tools within longevity and preventive health strategies. If you are optimizing sleep, managing stress, tracking HRV, doing cold therapy, or watching your VO2 max, and you haven't addressed your CO2 tolerance and breathing mechanics, you are leaving the most fundamental lever completely unpulled. Your ability to use oxygen efficiently depends not only on your cardiovascular system, but also on how you breathe. Through structured breathwork training, it is possible to significantly increase VO2 max, improve recovery, and perform better under pressure. And for non-athletes, a high VO2 max is one of the strongest known predictors of longevity, which means how efficiently your cells use oxygen is quite literally connected to how long and how well you live. Here's your action plan starting today. Take your Bolt score right now before you do anything else. Write it down, then commit to nasal breathing exclusively during all low to moderate intensity movement for the next 4 weeks. Add 5 minutes of reduced breathing practice each morning. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, out for 6, and sit with the mild air hunger that creates. Do not fight it. That mild discomfort is the training stimulus. Once per day, after a gentle exhale, perform a breath hold and count until that first urge to inhale. Track this number weekly. Watch it climb. Watch how your sleep changes, your mental clarity sharpens, and your workouts start to feel different in a way you can't quite name but can absolutely feel. If you want the complete step-by-step protocol, including the exact breath hold progressions, the cadence breathing patterns for specific training zones, and the weekly tracking template we built specifically around the Bolt score, head over to thevitalityscoop.com/newsletter right now and get on the list. We break it all down in the full written guide that goes out to subscribers, and it is free. The link is in the description. Drop your current Bolt score in the comments below. I genuinely want to see where people are starting, and I'll be down there replying. Like this video if it shifted something for you. Subscribe if you haven't already. and I'll see you in the next one. Keep breathing, but breathe smarter. Do smarter.